Hello, everyone. Welcome to another episode of Smart Money Sundays. I hope you all are doing well and enjoying your weekend thus far. I have quite a few pairs I want to go over with you all today. And towards the end of last week, we saw a pickup in volatility from the start of the week. The start of the week was quite slow, to say the least, but towards the end of the week, Thursday, Friday, we did see some more volatility injected into the market, which is producing quite a few setups for this upcoming week. So I want to go over all these pairs that I'm looking at. Some of them are quite pertinent at the moment. So sit back and relax, and hopefully you enjoy this video. Take some notes as well. This is all really good value. So I'm going to start off with the dollar index. So the dollar index has been in this huge uptrend for really the past year now. Since the end of May 2021, we've been in this uptrend, and we are just continuing with the bullish run. We finally finished, I think, a couple weeks ago, towards the end of May, about a month ago, this downtrend, this overall pullback in the market. We finally broke structure, we accumulated in price, we tested, and then we continued. We did tap into that 105 level. Now, I do think that we will definitely run this level, come back up into 105, and then take that liquidity. We can see here exactly where we stopped as we accumulated. The spring, followed by the break of structure, took place as we came into this nearest demand zone. Now, this demand zone was the retest right in here of this previous market structure. So that really looked good to me coming back into 101 psychological level. So we reacted from it, we went long, we are expanding again, and we're now looking to attack 105. So there's not to say that we can't see a pullback and go, intraday short or intra-week short, but overall we will come up and hit that 105 level. So higher time frame, we should be looking for dollar longs. So with that being said, let's go into AUD USD. So dollar longs, XXX USD shorts is what we're looking for. So just continuation short here, and that really lines up with our higher time frame bias. If we just scroll out, I know it's blurry, but it's because I'm zoomed out. We can see the huge run on liquidity, and then that lower low was formed. So now we were looking for a pullback to go short. I was really hoping that we would get into this 7343 level. And it's not to say that we can't. If we have an overall pullback, hit this higher time frame premium level, which would be in alignment with the dollar index pulling back maybe into this area of demand for another higher time frame run to the upside on the dollar, or higher time frame run to make a new lower low, that is what we would be expected. However, we can see that last week, I believe, so June 2nd, last week, we had the run on liquidity. So this high here, so we had the lower low, lower high, lower low. We ran liquidity with this counter trend. Ran it, spiked up, and then pushed right back below and closed below it. We never closed above this level and maintained bullish structure. We pushed up, created the draw on liquidity, took the liquidity, and then ran to the downside. Now we can see through this counter trend, higher high, higher low, higher high, higher low, higher high, run on liquidity, higher low. This is the demand level in which we would be looking to buy if we didn't have the quick buy to sell, but we can see that we never made a higher high. So this demand now flips to supply because the demand is now invalidated. If the demand was valid, it would have made a higher high, but instead we didn't. We failed to make that higher high and we made the lower low. So now this flips into supply, and now this is exactly where we're looking to come and pull back up into 0.716. Now that lines up with our 4-hour 50 EMA as well. So I'm going to go down to a lower time frame, and we can see this is our last buying volume before the overall move to the downside. And we can see that break of structure that occurred. Higher high, higher low, failed to make a higher high, lower low, broke and closed below that structure. So now we really want a retest of that supply level to continue. However, we may follow the strong bearish momentum and just have a slight pullback into premium on a lower time frame and then have the continuation to the downside. Overall, I am expecting 6.7, 6.750, 6.8. Really looking to take out this low and go deeper, push deeper into bearish territory, into discounted territory on the higher time frame. So we can see that really just continuing with this trend here. If we are to react off of an intra swing point or smaller time frame reaction to pull back and continue short, 701 or 71 or 7099 would be on the table. We can see this last buy to sell, and we haven't filled inefficiency quite yet. So if we see the pullback into this level or on the lower time frame, we can just see just a slight pullback into the supply and continuation. That is a possibility. However, the higher time frame bias and really the higher time frame, highest probability area would be this premium supply level that turned into supply after the invalidation of demand. So really getting back up into 716 is what I would like to see. We may run this high to start the week and then fall from that level. That would be ideal. However, this is still on the table for potential shorts if we can get reactions. So that is AUD USD. Overall bias is short. Going into Euro AUD. So Euro AUD is very similar in terms of inversely correlated to AUD USD, meaning it's inversely correlated very well. If AU is pushing down, EA is pushing up. Okay, so if we are looking for AUD USD to have a short-term bullish run for then a long-term bearish push, then we would expect a short-term bearish run on Euro AUD for a long-term bullish push on Euro AUD. So what I'm looking for is if we go to a lower time frame, we can see the relatively equal lows that was formed last week. We had low here, a low here, and now we created that low here. So I'm expecting this low to be taken. Now, what I would potentially like to see is if we can get back up into these levels, we can see these areas of supply. Because what did we have? We had the lower low, the lower high, and then the lower low again. I wouldn't be hesitant to short from these levels into our higher time frame zone because we haven't met that yet. You can see 4750 and 47, the imbalance in the demand zone here has not been met. And I would like to take out that low right there. So any push to the upside, I would like to short. But overall, the highest probability chance of taking a trade is the longs because we are in a bullish market. And for the past month, I've been talking about all the confluences that have been going on in here, all the confluences that have been going on in here, all the technical analysis of what was happening here and what was happening here. So if you haven't seen those, please check out those videos. I believe I posted them in our Discord community for those of you in our VIP program. But for you free members and those of you who are just watching, just a quick breakdown. We had accumulation into demand that filled imbalance, made the higher high expansion, pulled back, took liquidity after the fake BOS, and had that sell to buy into 50% of the imbalance level, created the higher high again. So ultimately, we want to get back down into discount, fill up 50% of the imbalance at least, or the full fill with this 1 hour time frame demand zone. So lines up perfectly with these psychological levels. However, we haven't tapped up into that yet, and we made that higher high counter trend. We can see lower low, lower high, lower low, lower high, lower low, lower high, lower low, higher high. So any pullback to go long into this level, we could look to short around 5050, 51, or 5150. Really don't want to get back above this level. If I go down to the 15-minute time frame, these are the valid supply zones. We can see here the run on liquidity, buy to sell, coming into our level of supply. We push back up into the supply that swept the liquidity here and here. You can see that this low buy to sell swept the high. We pushed back up into it and we fell. We never tested this level now. We had the buy to sell that swept intraday liquidity in here. We never had the tap up into it. I was hoping after the break of structure, lower low, right, that we were hoping for a pullback into this level for continuation. Well, we never got that. We created a miniature high, and then we made a lower low again. So these two levels are still valid for us to pull back up into. We almost tapped up into it last week, a couple days ago, actually. I think it was on Thursday that we almost tapped up into it, but we just fell from there, creating lower low again. Equal lows again. Apologize. So anyways, what I'll be looking for is if we get back up into these levels, I will be looking for shorts. I will be looking for shorts and take profits. Obviously, this will be the draw on liquidity below these equal lows. But ultimately, 1.4750, 1.47 would be the overall target for me. Now, if we don't get back up into this and we just come down and hit these levels, then these shorts from this level here is off the table because this is the higher time frame zone. Because if we push into the higher time frame zone and react and go long, we're looking for that higher high overall because this would be the overall pullback, right? Expansion, pullback, expansion. That's what we're looking for. But if we can get back up into these premium levels, into those areas of supply, this would be the nice draw on liquidity, meaning we look to go attack that liquidity next, have more conviction that this level will be met for then a long from there. 1 drive, pullback, 2 drive, pullback, 3 drive, A into B into C, continuation. All right, so that's what we're looking for on Euro AUD. Very similar to Euro NZD, higher time frame. We are bullish, and I've talked about these levels so many times. I actually had a level at 6.2 that I'm still currently in, still holding this position. I'm not going to go over that again; it would take too much time. But so many confluences in here. I actually did make a video on Euro NZD, and I believe it was titled, oh, what was it? Like Smart Money Concepts Altogether, or the most amazing smart money concept analysis. I don't know. It's one of our most recent videos, but it literally has every single confluence that is based upon our strategy. There's Wyckoff, there's structure, there's liquidity, there's time and price, there's imbalance, there's mitigation, literally anything you can think of, supply and demand, everything. Watch that video. It is tremendous. Take a look at it. It's awesome. And I break down Euro NZD. So all in all, I'm looking for buys from 1.63 or 1.6285 or 1.629, something like that. Just getting back down into discounted price, back down into this imbalance level and this 1 hour demand zone as we've had on Euro AUD. Oh, let me just go scale out right in here. Okay, so very similar. So scaling back out on Euro NZD, what we did do this past week was create a lot of liquidity, a lot. So from the start of the week last week, we came down and made equal lows. So this is the overall draw on liquidity, giving us that super strong conviction that we will continue short to take out this liquidity and then come into our overall level. Because higher time frame, we're bullish, higher high, higher low, higher high, higher low, higher high, higher low is what we're looking for. And then another higher high drive into 1.7 cycle level or 1.71. And we can see that the higher time frame, this is exactly where we want to come into. Right in here, this supply zone. We haven't reached that yet, so further upside is expected. The reason why this is highly probable is because we had the run on liquidity, this high here, run, we fell. This is the most recent swing point. If we were going to continue bullish, we should have reacted from this level because higher high, higher low, higher high, higher low, should have made the higher high. As again explained, this demand is now invalidated because it didn't make the higher high. We made a lower low, so this turns into supply. So this is a very key zone we should be looking for exit points if we're buying up into that level. And potentially we can be looking for shorts from this level as well. So going back over to the right here, we can see that we had a level of supply in here. This massive buy to sell swept descending liquidity in here. And we were just chopping, creating liquidity all throughout this. Now, again, I say this so many times within my breakdown videos. I love seeing a buildup of liquidity prior to a level being met. So we had this sponsor candle that swept liquidity. We had the imbalance from this week and this week. We finally came into it, I believe, on Friday or Thursday. Yes, this was Thursday. We swept the high here, and we had a massive reaction. And we can see that massive reaction across the board on EG, EU, and every pair. It was a midweek reversal. So we came up into that zone, going down to a 1 hour time frame. We had the counter trend. Higher high, higher low, higher high, higher low, higher high, higher low, higher high, sweeping liquidity, coming up into our supply zone, sharp reaction, strong reaction, lower low, higher high, higher low, higher high, lower low. So now the demand becomes supply now. We want to be pulling back to go short. So we had the ascending liquidity. This was Asian session and Wednesday's New York session. We ran that 8 in the morning, 7 in the morning, Eastern Standard Time, New York session open. This is Eastern Standard Time. So New York session open, buy, entice the buyers, take liquidity from here, and then sell off for the rest of the week. Okay, so we go down to the 15-minute time frame. Actually, maybe it's the 30-minute. I'm not quite sure. 45. Go 45. There it is. Okay, so really this is the candle that swept this liquidity, this liquidity, and this liquidity. So I pulled a fib from the high to the low here, and we can see just really anywhere in this zone, 50% of it could be a level in which we come back up into before it fall again. Overall, we're bearish now, right? Because we swept liquidity coming up into a higher time frame level, and we broke counter trend structure, and we created equal lows. So that's more draw on liquidity for it to come short. We have equal lows here and equal lows here. I mean, signs are all pointing to shorts. Okay, so we have the potential to come up into one of two levels. And I have a more generous level here. I'm just going to get rid of this now. We have a more generous level here. This is our higher time frame buy to sell, just really pulling back up into our most recent institutionally based sponsored volume and then shorting off. We also have a miniature level of supply in here that we could pop up into. So that's another level. And if we come a little higher, if we go 45 minute, maybe the 50% of that level, scaling down to the 30 minute, we can see that we have imbalance right in here. So any one of those levels would be valid for me. So keep an eye on those levels. So we have 1 here, 2 here, and 3 here. Looking to short from either of those levels. Stops above the high would be preferred for a conservative based stop. Ultimate targets are coming down to take these equal lows, and I would be looking to target 1.63, looking to buy in these levels, stop loss below the most recent swing point to go long, up into our higher time frame zone at 1.7 or 1.7050, 1.71, any of those levels. And then we could potentially be looking for short distribution schematics to go short overall for a higher time frame swing to the downside, because we are technically higher time frame bearish. So this is how you do top-down analysis, guys. This is so important to do. And we can see that right in here, this high as well. This high swept our most recent high right there. We never came into this supply structure, which necessarily we don't have to, because we swept liquidity and made a lower low. So really we shouldn't come above this high. But that would have given me more conviction anyways. I mean, I already have strong conviction on overall sells and buys from 1.63. But if we came up into, imbalance right here, the supply level, then, that would just been the icing on the cake. But nonetheless, still a great setup. So intermediate, let's see, go down to the lower time frame. Intermediate pushes up for a short off into here, for a long into here, for a potential short down below. So that's how we do top down, and it's just going from top to bottom, looking at all these different confluences and putting them together for a trade to be taken. So that is Euro NZD. Euro GBP. Looking for shorts. I had 2 levels I wanted to discuss. Overall, we are bullish, okay? Not going to talk about all these levels in here. I believe I spoke about them on a prior video within VIP before. But just know that we are overall bullish now. Sort of. I mean, technically, I guess higher time frame we're bearish, but within this current uptrend, higher high, higher low, higher high, looking for a higher low. If we can get a buy from 8,390 to make a higher high, maybe run up into 8.7 to sweep all this liquidity, because we have a lot of descending liquidity here. But for the time being, since beginning of March of this year, we've been in an uptrend. I just want to continue to buy this higher time frame until we see an overall lower low. And then we would be looking for shorts. But in the meantime, that hasn't happened yet. We're looking for longs. Okay, so I want to start off by talking about this level here. We always need to, if we're looking for shorts, we always need to know where are we going to be targeting. Obviously, take profits and stop losses even before your entry is a must. You have to have a full plan in order to trade, or else you're most likely not going to succeed. It's just a fact. So my overall targets, if I'm shorting, would, 1, to be taking out these lows, equal lows. We also have equal lows in here. So a lot of sell side liquidity, equal lows in here. We had this low in here that did not come into our overall level. This sell to buy that came into a lower time frame schematic. And there's just so much going on in here actually that tapped into this level. There was actually a lower time frame schematic that broke structure. It was a accumulation schematic in here. We had the Asian range fake out to the upside, fake out to the downside, tap into our higher time frame zone, made a higher high, pulled back, created more liquidity in here during London, had that sell to buy, started London session manipulation into our test level accumulation, and then that higher high. So we never tapped down into this sponsored candle volume at 8,390 cycle level. So I want to be getting back down into these discounted prices. So any shorts would be looking to target there. And then obviously higher time frame, you can see higher high, higher low, higher high. This is a higher low, but we haven't made the higher high yet. So technically this is still the trading range from here to here. So any pullbacks that are not below this level are still valid. So even if we come and sweep this level, come deeper into this zone, this is still technically a higher high, higher low, higher high sequence potential. So that's what I would be looking for. But anyway, a more pertinent setup, we can see that right in here, we had the run on liquidity. See this high here that came up into our supply zone? We had the run on liquidity here just by a couple pips. We ran it and then we fell. We pulled back up into a tiny miniature area of supply, and then we fell, making that lower low. So I thought, okay, that lower low was formed. Now we want to pull back up into premium in here and then look to short to take out these equal lows. Well, we had a little bit of a reaction from our level, but then it just ended up coming back up. It swept my stop loss and then it fell. So now this is just offering me another opportunity. So yes, I lost this trade, but then I can look at more opportunities to short because still the bias is short before the overall long. However, we do have a level at 8.6. Really, the trading range is in here. If we come up any higher than this, we'll be bullish, short term and long term. We can see we have our area of imbalance in that last buy to sell supply level in here. So 8.6 could be on the table. I don't think that will happen, but if we do have that quick, Monday, Tuesday run on the previous week's high, which we could see before a fall, 8.6 would be on the table for potential shorts. But I have to look at structure here. We can see that we swept liquidity again just by a couple pips, and then we made that lower low to the downside. We have equal lows here. So really what I'm looking for, if we go to the 4-hour time frame, is really just I had two levels. I had two levels because this is why. This was such a strong move that I didn't think that if we were to get a small pullback, that would be the end of it and we would just continue. I wasn't expecting a deeper pullback, right? So I had two levels here. The inefficiency, which we came into, we're in slight profit here. But then on the 1-hour time frame, we had our last buy to sell. Now, many people are like, well, you tell us not to just look at the last buy to sell candle. Well, what did the last buy to sell candle do? It swept liquidity. This was the candle that swept liquidity. Now, if there was a candle up here, like another buy candle and then a sell, this wouldn't be the sponsor candle because this candle wouldn't have swept liquidity. This is the candle that swept liquidity. So that's why this is the valid entry point. And we swept this prior high. We swept these equal highs or ascending liquidity here, that high and that high before the fall. So I'm looking maybe a small potential run intraday long up into 855,450 to then short off. We can see that 30-minute candle, that buy to sell, that engulfing before the rollover. So really just these two levels I'm looking to play off of. If we come any higher and sweep the previous week's high, then maybe 8.6 would be on the table for overall shorts. However, overall longs for me would come down at 8.390. So that would be the level I'm looking to long. Really just to take up and free up all this liquidity that's been building up. But the bias is short, in my opinion. EUR USD, very similar. So what we did do that was unexpected was we had a final run on the high, which, we've been doing across the board, so, can't really complain there. Higher time frame, we did kind of push up into our prior supply zone. We did have relatively equal highs and this last point of supply that we never came up into. You can see the imbalance a little bit. So 1.0950 was on the table for the time being. I thought that this counter trend would continue and we would push back up into it, sweeping liquidity, coming deeper into premium on a higher time frame for then a short off, but we never got that. However, we know that from a higher time frame standpoint, we are looking to go short because, well, one, we're below the daily 50, but two, we have massive liquidity, equal lows since 2016, end of 2016, this low, 1.0340. We just tapped into it, but we never took it. So now I think we're looking to take that liquidity. So 4-hour time frame, we can see that we are, distributing a little bit. We have the confirmation with our spring that formed a lower low because we had higher high, higher low, higher high, higher low, higher high, higher low, all the way up, higher high, higher low. And then we failed to make that higher high, and then we made the lower low. So any pullbacks to short into our higher time frame level would be valid. All right, so pullbacks into a couple levels, like I talked about on AUD USD, we have an intraday area of supply. So if we don't get the full pullback, then maybe 1.0611 would be valid to then short off into 1.0340. But if we do get a pullback deeper, I want to see a lot of this imbalance freed up or filled in, really. We can see that our last buy to sell candle, the imbalance started right here. So 1.06878 would be that first target. And that would be a deep retracement. That would be that 61, 71% premium zone for a retracement. So I would like that level. This is also the candle that swept these highs in here, this high, this high, and this high, coming into a 1 hour time frame. I think it was 1 hour, maybe it was 15-minute. We do bar replay and check it out. Yeah, 15-minute area of supply, our last point of supply and imbalance right in here because of the strong sell move. So that's exactly where we tapped into with this level, had that crazy buy to sell, and now this becomes our supply. So 2 levels, well, 3 levels. The one I just talked about at 0.611, the next one at 0.6878, and then another one at the imbalance fill, about 50% of this buy to sell institutionally sponsored move at 0.720, 1.0720. And we can see that this is the higher time frame, 1 hour doji 1, 2, 3 pin pattern engulfing imbalance zone here. So 1 hour imbalance, we have 4 hour imbalance. Really, this whole sponsored candle is the interested level, and then our intraday supply zone if we get a pullback into that. So looking for continuations overall. XXX USD shorts. GBP Swiss franc. All right. So higher time frame. Where are we? We're bearish. Lower low, lower high, lower low, lower high, lower low, lower high, lower low. All right. So we should be expecting a lower high and then ultimately a higher time frame, lower low. Okay, we pulled back up into our last point of supply here, had the reaction, had that buy to sell, short off, repricing supply, and then the imbalance lower low overall. Highly strong, volatile move, right? So the lower low was seen, we started to accumulate in price, and then we broke counter-trend structure, having that overall pullback for that overall short, right? That's what we're looking for. So we had 2 levels, and it just missed it, 1.23 imbalance, also that psych level, and then we have 1.2335, which is the imbalance fill and the repricing event here. Okay, because you can see on the 1 hour time frame, if we scale over, that we had higher high, higher low, higher high, higher low, higher high, higher low, higher high, higher low. We failed to make that higher high. This demand was invalidated, becomes supply, made the lower low, pulled back up into the supply, and then the imbalance formed. This is the most recent supply zone. So that is what I would be looking at if we can get a run on this high. I do believe that we potentially can get a run on this high here, come up into our zone for an overall lower low. But in the meantime, could we potentially be looking for intraday longs or intraday shorts? Well, there's a possibility. We had our distribution lower time frame, we had our last buy to sell. So if we don't come into this black line first, I would be interested in taking a short position upon a pullback into 1.2198. However, if we come into any of these levels right here first, and then we start pushing up, this is no longer valid. I will not be looking to short. But if we don't, then I would look to potentially short from this level, and then come down into one of these 2 levels to then take a long into the higher time frame and then the overall short from there. If we come up into these 2 levels at all at any point in time prior to these levels, all of these levels are now invalidated because the higher time frame has been fulfilled, and now we should be looking for that overall lower low. So the potential buying levels for the week into these levels would be this. You can see the accumulation, selling climax, secondary test. We had the spring, right? So this is our last point of demand, our sell to buy into this level that swept liquidity. You can see this low swept the low here, and these lows mitigated this level, and we made a higher high. We have a lot of imbalance here. So we could be seeing an overall pullback for a potential long up into here and then a short, all right? So 2 levels here, our most recent area of demand, and then our highly probable area of demand that's in discount for an overall pullback to go long into this level. So obviously our last sell to buy, 1.2080, and then our intermediate level at 1.2130. This is, I wouldn't say it's the most highly probable setup, but it is our most recent swing point. It is imbalance fill, psychological level. So I'll be looking out for those 2 levels for potential longs into the, into these 2 levels. Okay, so really this is the zone of interest for me. Stops can really just go above this supply zone if we come up into it. So hopefully you guys have a plan based upon what I just said about this. Hopefully you guys have a plan of about potentially trading this, and you have these levels marked up for future use. GBP USD, overall, we're bearish. Just like all XXX USD pairs, dollar is strong. That's why we are looking for overall shorts to the downside. Okay, so what did we do? Well, this counter trend pullback came up and swept this high. We swept the high and then we fell. All right, so we fell, didn't really break counter trend structure yet. We kind of had the pullback and now we broke it. So now any point of pullback should be good for shorts. I have two levels here. You can see that this buy to sell swept the liquidity from this high. So we really shouldn't come above this high here. But we can see 1.2470 is, a general area where price has been reactive from in the past. It is that round number figure, and it is pulling back into our most recent supply zone. If we go to the 4-hour, that's our imbalance level as well. 4-hour 50 EMA coming into fruition. So let's just call it a lower low. Makes it easier. Lower low, lower high, lower low, lower high, looking for that pullback to short off. We also have this level here. You can see 1.2433. That last institutionally based buying volume, this is the entire range, buy to sell. We could pull back up into it. We may not have a full pullback, but we may just have a slight pullback just because this is so strong to the downside. That's why when we have strong volatile moves, we don't always get a full pullback. So, and you can just see the level of reaction from this. You can see the support here. You can see the support here, the resistance, the support. So highly reactive, right? From this level here, this level we rejected, pushed through, pulled back, retested, shorted off, pushed back up, retested this level. So, and then we tested this level again here. So this is a highly reactive zone. I'll be looking to short from either of those two levels. NZD USD. Very similar. Again, counter trend, pulled back, swept this high. Very, very slight buy to sell. Okay. We're in an overall downtrend. Now we know that. Higher high, higher low, higher high, higher low, higher high, higher low. Came into demand. Demand invalidated. We didn't make the higher high. We made a lower low. It flips to supply. That's why I had two levels. I had this level here, shared with VIP, we're in great profit, and I had this level that we never pushed up into, because this was the demand that switched to supply or flipped to supply when we didn't make that higher high. Why didn't we make the higher high? Well, because we swept liquidity and reacted very strongly. This wasn't supply until we made the lower low. We broke structure. We closed below the level. The lower low was formed. We're looking for overall pullbacks into that supply zone to then short off. We didn't get that 100%, and I had a level of imbalance in here that when we were trading in this level, I said, okay, we could potentially be coming up into this level, imbalance fill into supply, because this high here swept this high here and we reacted from it. So this is a potential area of interest, and we had our 1-hour 50 EMA as well. I did take a short here. We are in great profit, but we never got the pullback all the way up into our higher time frame zone, which is the 4-hour, well, not only supply, but the imbalance between this wick and this wick here. So, that's still a potential that we come up into it, just because we haven't had the overall pullback yet. We can see that higher high, higher low, higher high, lower low. If we get a pullback, this would be the overall pullback zone of interest, because we can pull our fib. This would be the trading range, and it would be around the 61.70, 178.6 premium price level. Don't get confused when we break the structure. If we do, I'm just saying if we do. If we break the structure, don't think, oh, pull back long. Well, yeah, maybe pull back and intraday long into this level, but overall we're still bearish. This is just an overall pullback, not a continuation, right? This is the continuation, because drive, break of structure, liquidity run, higher time frame bearish, pullback, continuation. That's what we should be looking for. Okay, so a couple of levels, actually two levels. I had an entry here. I didn't see this in time. This was 3 in the morning. This was London session. London session open, had the retest of the supply, and we fell again. Didn't get a chance because I'm on the east coast of the US, so I was sleeping at the time. But we have two potential levels. One, just this intermediate level of supply, right? There's the intraday, lower time frame structure, right? Something like that. If we get the break and we push back up, I will be looking for shorts from our higher time frame zone, just like that. Okay. 4-hour time frame, we can see that this is the last buy to sell candle, just intraday structure, and the imbalance, we didn't quite fill it. 639.750, around that 6,400 sec level. That's what I'll be looking for. USD CAD, called this out a couple weeks ago, I believe. I said that on the daily time frame. I'm not going to go into all this price action, but we made the higher high. We're looking for that pullback into our overall area of demand. You can see the sell to buy, that swept liquidity coming into our 4-hour imbalance around 1.5 or 1.25, excuse me, 4-hour imbalance right there. So let's just call it 1.25. It's pretty much what it is. Imbalance was filled, sell to buy reaction, higher time frame. This was the accumulation, lower time frame. Last sell to buy spring, pulled back test, continuation. This swept these equal lows and came down into this level of demand that we had, higher time frame. We had a level sent to a VIP from 1.25, had the reaction, and now what we're looking for is just the reaction from this area of demand. And I noted that we could, react off the open at 1.261, or we could come lower into just a lower time frame area. There's really no key level in here just because it's just straight sell and then straight buy. So just a lot of inefficiency. So there's really nothing to play off of in here. Just so anywhere in this range would have been good once we have pulled back into this to look for longs. And that's kind of exactly what we had. So going back to the 4-hour, kind of just, made lower lows, lower highs until we went long. We reacted from the level, and then we went long from there. So any pullback potentially back down into our most recent sell to buy, filling up some imbalance, that would be nice for longs. We can see that we are above the 4-hour 50 EMA again. So we really should be looking for that higher time frame, higher high now. Probably 1.32 or 1.33. I believe that would be nice to get back up into these premium levels. So counter trend, we're still bullish. We want to be looking for longs. We can see the imbalances right in here. So 1.2620 would be a nice entry level. However, such strong momentum, I really, honestly, I highly doubt we would get this deep pullback. So we'll look for continuations long this week. It may not present itself. It may, who knows? We'll find out. We'll just react based off what the market gives us. But we are very strong to the upside. I did have that level at 1.2620, or excuse me, 1.261 from the daily time frame open of the sell to buy sponsored candle. So I did have my stops below the low. It was a higher time frame type of trade with a bigger stop loss, but the risk to reward was still good because we had the huge return that was way up here. So I think it was like, I forget what it was. Let's see. Something like that. I think it was 1.33 was the take profit. Yeah, so it's still a 1 to 4.65, almost a 1 to 5. So still the risk to reward was there, even though I had a 150 pip stop. Don't worry about the stop loss and pips. Worry about what the risk to reward is. That's really what's going to make you money. Okay, so any pullback to go long is what we're looking for. Just a few more, guys. Then I'll be done. NZD Swiss franc. Ooh. Okay, so we are technically bearish, but I am interested in this potential level here. Counter trend, we're bullish. Okay, higher high, higher low, accumulation, demand zone, higher high, equal lows, run on it. 2:30 in the morning. That's London session, open for me in the eastern coast of the U.S. Eastern time. You can see the fake out of the head and shoulders. Many people were selling below the neckline. Nope, right back to the upside. Retail doesn't work. We know that. Push down into demand. Higher high was formed. Never tested and mitigated this level. We actually created equal highs, relatively equal highs. So I'm looking for potential longs from 6237. If we do get that, we'll be looking to target our most recent structure in here. Well, this is the most recent structure, but we could come higher for an overall retracement. It's sort of up in the air right now, sort of subjective. Nothing very clear, but if we can get the reaction there, I'll be looking to take profit, somewhere in here or up in here, something like that. It's not very pretty at the moment. But if we do just come down and create a lower low, we still are technically bearish. You can see lower low, lower high, lower low, lower high. We pushed up into our most recent structure level. That last buy to sell, we filled up some imbalance. So technically, could we go short? Absolutely. If we close below this level, I would look for a pullback to then short down into our higher time frame zone at 0.6 psychological level. That would be to take this prior low, because obviously we can see lower low, lower high, lower low, lower high, overall lower low. structure, supply. This pair respects supply so well. Liquidity runs into supply levels. I mean, it's just so beautiful. Supply in here, reaction, supply in here, reaction, liquidity runs supply, downtrend. That's why we broke structure, because the supply was met. All that good stuff. So now we're looking for that overall lower low at 0.60. It's a psych level, and it is, if we just scale in, our most recent swing point on the higher time frame to sweep all this liquidity, come into the sell to buy inefficiency that tap down into this level of demand. So that's what we'll be looking for. Just be very careful. It could go either way. NZD JPY. Well, we are in a higher time frame uptrend. However, we could see potential intraday shorts, maybe back down into this level structure. We can see that. Oops. We can see that this high was run, this buy to sell, swept liquidity. We formed this area of supply here. We pushed back up into, and we had a reaction. I wasn't selling from here because we could have easily just made a higher high. We're bullish, higher high, higher low, higher high. But we saw the reaction. So I'm like, okay, since we saw the reaction, well, now we came up into the supply that swept liquidity. So it's a potential that this could be a high for an overall pullback of some kind. Scaling into the 1 hour time frame. Really, I don't really see much in here. We're kind of distributing, slowing down in price. And, I guess you can say we kind of broke counter trend structure, higher high, higher low, lower low potential. We have the 1 hour 50 on our side as well. So any pullback maybe back up into our most recent structure point, and imbalance level could be nice, 85775. It's not the prettiest setup, but could be good for continuations. That would really be the only level I would be looking for a potential short. Now, to really confirm this for me, if we get an overall pullback, maybe back up into this level here, so imbalance. If we do something like this, like that, whoops, make this prettier, like that. If we can do something like that, tap up into maybe a level in here, or, just create a counter trend that we run liquidity on and we break counter trend structure like that, a pullback would be beautiful. That would be the ideal setup. But we could easily just continue like that and just do something like that. But who knows? We could have that, intraday or intra-week run on the high to start the week, and maybe that continuation short to end the week. I mean, heck, or we could just continue. We could just make a higher high overall, because technically we still are higher time frame bullish, because that's just seen right here, the higher time frame structure. But we never tap down into my level of interest right here. So that could be a level. 79250 could be that potential level for us. So looking for potential shorts, we just got to be careful. We have confluence to go short, but again, we still are higher time frame bullish, so just be careful. AUD CAD, no setup on this at the moment. I called this out to my VIP community last week. We had a reaction from a mini time frame area of supply. We had the distribution. We had the break of structure, and then the imbalance zone here. So distribution, counter trend, this was our BOS when we closed below this zone. We pulled back into premium, 9-1 psych level, imbalance fill from the news. It was always meant to go short from this level anyways. The news just was the catalyst to push it back up into that level. And then we made a lower low, pulled back, followed structure, continued short. I don't really see anything on this at the moment. I think we're going to take out these lows this week. We may have that run come down into 0.8900 psych level. But if we do have a run on the high to start the week, if we just take all this liquidity potentially and run it, then this imbalance would be very valid to take a short from our overall level at 9190 that I was hoping we'd get up into here, but we reacted from the level here and went short. So it's all up in the air right now. If we do get that push up higher, I still will be looking to short. Overall targets and higher time frame bias is short, coming down into that higher time frame liquidity. We could easily just do that now, fill up imbalance, maintain structure, continue, or have that overall pullback, fill up some of this imbalance, and come into our most recent structure point, lower low, lower high, lower low, lower high, lower low. You can see this area of supply. This is the rebalancing. Buy, take liquidity, sell, reprice, continuation. See the supply, that doji candle, that green doji, that's supply level that was created, and then the imbalance occurred. So 9190 psych level. would be of interest to me if we had the overall run. If not, I don't really see much right now. I'm still holding my shorts from 9-1 to see if we can get that overall target being met at 890 for the higher time frame liquidity run, right? One more, and then I'm done, I promise. That was a lot. Again, I've talked about this so many times. Higher time frame distribution. We had the BOS, we had the liquidity run here. So lower low, lower high, lower low, lower high, lower low. Looking for a pullback for that natural lower high and the lower low. Supply was met, lower time frame. We had the drawn liquidity, the descending liquidity prior to us coming up into that level. The buy to sell, lower low was formed. We're now counter trend and higher time frame bearish. Imbalance is what we're coming into. And then, hey guys, sorry, I know this is weird. It kind of cut off. I had someone interrupt me, so I had to pause it. All right, continuing. The buy to sell into our supply zone. We made that lower low, pull back. This is imbalance, drawn liquidity. Lower low is formed. I want the lower high. So I was hoping that we would get that run on this descending liquidity, take out these equal highs, come into our overall zone of imbalance, which also lines up with the institutionally based buying volume, this buy to sell, into 3435, 3450 to then to have an overall short. But we're seeing a push down now. I really don't trade US30 that often at all, so I really don't know how it moves that well. But if we can get back up into this level, I will be looking too short. But other than that, I'm going to leave this alone. I don't like to really trade indices too much. I like to stick with Forex pairs. So guys, that is all the pairs that I have for you. If you have any questions, please feel free to let me know. But please go back, mark off all of these levels that I have, pair them with your own analysis, and then take trades based upon what you know. And if you're interested in learning how we do this every single day, every single week, and you enjoy learning about this strategy, and it comes easy to you, maybe you understand it quite well through the way we teach, feel free to hop over to our website, www.aerialfxtrading.com, and then click the sign up button. It'll prompt you to answer a couple questions just to see, who you are and, what your ultimate financial goals are, trading goals are. And then we can schedule a free one-on-one consultation with one of our student success managers, really just to see if you would be a good fit for our company, just to introduce you to our company and to see, if you would be interested in taking part of our really exciting mentorship program to see if, if your views and your beliefs and your mentality lines up with us to make sure that you are a good fit for us. So we aren't wasting any of your time or wasting our time as well. Because we really are focusing on developing traders into six-figure earners. And the only way to do that is to go all in with them. So if you are someone who doesn't procrastinate, it works very hard, wants to take this seriously, and wants to make this a career, then feel free to sign up for a free call. We'd love to talk to you in further detail about how we can best help you and get you set up within our community to really take you to that next level. Anyone else just looking for handouts, sorry, we don't do that anymore. We don't do signals. We want to be serious with our mentorship. That's why we got rid of signals, and we're only focusing on education and taking you guys who are really, really wanting it to that next level. So feel free to book a call. It's completely free. I give you my proprietary trading plan just for booking a call with us, and we can see if you're a good fit for us. And if you are, through that discussion with my team after our call, we feel you are a good fit, we will invite you to join our community and to take part in our program. Obviously, this is a paid program. Obviously, value and all that good stuff is not free, but it is well worth it in the end. We try to keep it affordable for all you guys, but you will be a part of a program that really wants to uplift you and take you to that next level and help you reach your goals. We give you a individualized plan of action that you can take based upon the call that we have with you, the questions that we ask, and your answers to those. We develop a plan of action for you within our business. So thank you guys so much for staying in touch with this. Hope you guys have a great trading week. Let us know if you have any questions of any kind. We'll be glad to help you out. So happy trading to you all, and let's kill it this trading week. Take care.